Welcome to the program, Comrades and Friends, Global Weekly News, serial number 157. First item, Colombian workers win labor reform. In Colombia, a South American country, Gustavo Petro is the president. His government is leftist. After several months of intense debate, Petro government achieved a new political victory and a key campaign promise when the legislature approved his long-awaited labor reform bill. The president signed it into law on 25th June. Petro had tried on many occasions to have the reform passed, but the opposition managed to block it every time. Undeterred, the president announced a popular referendum so that Colombians could decide on the proposed articles. After arduous conversations and negotiations, the possibility for the legislature to approve the labor reform on 28th June arose. Petro withdrew the popular referendum proposal. On X, Petro noted, the working people of Colombia have won their first victory after 34 years. I have fulfilled my promise to the working class. Further, the president affirmed that he will call for a popular referendum to develop a new constitution. The people have awakened. The people have seen who stands with them. That is why a ballot will be provided to call for the National Constituent Assembly in the upcoming elections. The bill consists of 70 articles aimed at reducing labor exploitation. Among the most important measures are prohibition of contracting for the provision of services in the public sector. Domestic employees will not be able to work more than 8 hours a day like all other workers. Those who work on Sundays or holidays will earn a 100% surcharge on their daily pay. Medical students must receive at least minimum wage during their internship. Companies must hire 2 people with disabilities for every 100 workers. Regulation and recognition of the rights of people working on digital platforms, including their inclusion in social security. In addition, the Colombian left wing managed to avoid the inclusion of anti-labor articles proposed by the right wing, such as part-time work and increasing the daily working hours, etc. Second item, comrades, Congo and Rwanda signed peace agreement. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda are poised to sign a peace agreement on 27th June, following months of conflict in eastern Congo. Months of intense fighting started by the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels, claimed thousands of lives and displaced hundreds of thousands of people. The agreement, brokered through sustained diplomatic negotiations led by the state of Qatar and supported by the US, is the culmination of a process that began in March. Qatar's emir convened high-level talks in Doha with the presidents of Congo and Rwanda. Following those talks, both leaders proceeded to Washington, D.C., where they participated in the signing of the Declaration of Principles for Peace in the Eastern Congo on 25th April 2025. Based on these principles, technical teams from Congo and Rwanda initiated the text of the peace agreement on 18th June during a meeting witnessed by U.S. Undersecretary for Political Affairs Cooker. The formal signing ceremony will be attended by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and will take place on 27th June. Parallel to the peace negotiations, the U.S. and Congo presidents were reportedly working on a separate security assistance deal that would grant the U.S. access to Congo's strategic mineral resources. Notably, the proposed mineral deal was not subjected to parliamentary debate or approval in Congo before being discussed with the United States. Third item, comrades. War in Sudan in its third year is far from over. As the fighting between the Sudanese Armed Forces SAF and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF intensifies in Sudan, United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk warned of a further aggravation in an already brutal and deadly conflict. The war, which began in April 2023, has created the world's most humanitarian disaster, displacing nearly 1.3 crore, leaving Sudan with the highest number of displaced people globally. 3 crore, almost two-thirds of its population, need humanitarian assistance, including food assistance. Measles and cholera outbreak are greatly spreading, causing panic among the masses. Fourth item, comrades. Niger to nationalize uranium. In yet another assertion of sovereignty, the government of Niger, one of the Sahel Alliance countries, announced on 19th June that it would nationalize the Somaïr uranium venture, wresting control from the multinational nuclear fuel cycle corporation Orano. Niger has already expelled French troops. The nationalization of Somalia is yet another measure in defiance of its former colonizer. France has long exerted a monopoly over Niger's uranium, which is among the highest grade in Africa. It has been fueling French nuclear power plants, lighting up one-third of its light bulbs, while over 85% of Niger people lacked government connection to the electricity grid. Threatening Niger with legal actions, including criminal proceedings, if necessary, Orano said it intends to seek full compensation for the damages suffered. Fifth item, comments. Another Sahel Alliance country, Mali, takes control of gold mines. Mali is one of the Sahel Alliance countries in Africa. Mali's mining code change in 2024 puts pressure on foreign companies in the country. The Lulo-Goungoto complex, one of the largest gold mines in the world, currently owned by the Canadian company Barrick Mining, has been placed under the provisional administration of the state of Mali. The measure was formalized on 16th June by the Commercial Court of Bamako and take place amidst a dispute between the Malian government and the MNC company. Mali, Africa's second largest gold producer and the world's fourth largest, says Barrick Mining owns taxes and operates under unfavorable contracts signed with the previous governments. In response, the company said it would appeal the court ruling. The court appointed former Malian health minister as the mine's interim administrator. The mine accounts for about 14% of Barrick revenues. Back in May, the government had officially requested that the court change the management of the mine, citing an interest in reopening it at a time historic highs in gold prices. The dispute with the Barrick led to the closure of the company's offices in Bamako, the capital of Mali. The government also issued an arrest warrant for the company's chief executive officer, Mark Bristow, in December 2024. On the same days, the government took over management of the mine. It began construction on West Africa's first state-owned gold refinery in partnership with the Russian conglomerate Yadran. Located in a town 19 kilometers from Bamako, the refinery will have the capacity to process up to 200 tons of gold per year. Sixth item, comrades. Burkina Faso plant 50 lakh trees in 1 hour. National Tree Day was celebrated on 21st June in Burkina Faso. In 2025, the 7th edition brought thousands of citizens, grassroots organizations and authorities from Burkina Faso onto the streets to ensure a call from the head of the state, Captain Ibrahim Traore, to plant 50 lakh trees in 1 hour. This tree day started in 2018, 7 years before. Comrades, this was the biggest campaign against desertification in the country's history. The action included the participation of international organizations as well, such as the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, which contributed 3,300 seedlings as well as the joint efforts of all the ministries. The government's aim is to create a medicinal plant nursery in each province of the country to increase local capacity to look after their own health. The minimum area set for the medicinal plant yards is 2 hectares. The initiative is a continuation of the ideas that the revolutionary Thomas Sankara visualized in 1986. The government aims to achieve the goal of planting at least 2 crore trees by 2025. 7th item commits terrorist attack. A church kills 27 in Syria. At least 27 people were killed and several others wounded in a terrorist attack that targeted the Greek Orthodox Mar Elias Church in Syrian capital Damascus on 22nd June. The attack was carried out by a suicide bomber affiliated with the ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, a terrorist group that has been active in different parts of West Asia for over a decade, including in Syria. On 24th June, Syrian security units in rural Damascus carried out an operation targeting hideouts of a terrorist sleeper cell linked to ISIS. The authorities arrested the members of the cell and confiscated all the explosives and weapons in their possession. 8th item, US Supreme Court enables Trump to deport migrants to countries not their own. The right-wing majority Supreme Court of USA ruled in favor of the Trump administration on 23rd June, clearing the way for Trump's immigration enforcement officials to deport immigrants to countries they are not from. In his drive to execute the crackdown on immigration, Trump has sent hundreds of immigrants to countries not their own. Most notable, those include the mass deportation of Venezuelan migrants to the notorious Secot prison in El Salvador. However, the Trump administration has also sent migrants to Panama, Costa Rica and most recently to South Sudan. 9th item comments. South Korean president skips NATO summit. Newly elected president of South Korea, Lee Jae-myung, will skip this year's summit of the NATO starting on 24th June. Lee cited the growing unrest in West Asia following the US strikes on Iranian nuclear sites on 22nd June as one of the reasons for the decision. After comprehensively reviewing various domestic matters and the volatile situation in the Middle East, the president decided not to attend the summit. Lee's predecessor, Yoon Suk Yeol, attended all the 3 NATO summits held during his presidency. Yoon was considered a strong proponent of the US Cold War narrative against China and was accused of seeking war with North Korea. Under his leadership, South Korea became a central part of US geopolitics in the region, focused on containing China. Yoon was impeached and removed from his post earlier this year, following his attempt to impose martial law in December 2024. In a fresh presidential election held in early June, Lee defeated a candidate from Yoon's party, the Conservative People Power Party. South Korea is not a formal member of NATO. However, it is one of the closest allies of the US in the region. The US has 62 military bases in South Korea and 28,500 troops stationed there. In the last few years, South Korea has become pivotal to the US plan to create an Asian NATO in the region. The US has allegedly pushed for an extension of NATO in the region with the involvement of countries such as Japan, Australia and New Zealand. South Korea has participated in numerous joint military exercises under US leadership, including Japan, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines and others. All these military exercises have been focused on alleged threats from China and North Korea. 10th item comrades, state of emergency in Panama. Jose Raul Mulino's right-wing government in Panama again declared a state of emergency in the province of Bocas del Toro in the northwest of Panama. The decree initiates the temporary suspension of several constitutional guarantees, such as freedom of movement, while giving the state the power to detain someone without a warrant. The declaration of the state of emergency comes in the context of a series of mass protests as part of a national strike that began in April. The strike was called for by trade unions and social organizations to protest a pension reform law, Law 462, which reduces the amount of pension and opens the door to the privatization of Social Security, the security agreement between Washington and Panama, which among other things could involve the installation of several U.S. military bases in Panama. The state of emergency will be extended for 5 days, allegedly because of riots and looting in Bocas del Toro. Union leaders say that any vandalism or violence that has taken place has no relation to the workers' protest. People from outside the protest have infiltrated, conducted vandalism and robbery, the trade union leaders allege. 11th item, comrades. Iran suspends cooperation with the IAEA. Iran had previously accused International Atomic Energy Agency chief Rafael Grossi of collaborating with the US and Israel, undermining the impartiality of the UN agency and providing cover for the Israeli-US attacks on its nuclear sites. The Parliament of Iran voted on 25th June to suspend Iran's cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency until the safety of the country's nuclear program is guaranteed by the designated agencies. Out of 223 members present during the parliamentary vote, 221 voted in favor of the bill and 1 member abstained. No votes were cast in opposition to the bill. The adopted bill prevents the IAEA inspectors from visiting the country and its nuclear sites until Iran's Supreme National Security Council deems it fit to do so. The bill also demands that the IAEA guarantee the implementation of Article 4 of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, which gives all its signatories the rights to have a peaceful nuclear program and nuclear enrichment before the resumption of cooperation with the agency. The repeated Israeli attacks inside Iran since 13th June, targeting Iranian civilian infrastructure, nuclear scientists and nuclear sites. 3 Iranian nuclear sites at Natanz, Fordo and Isfahan were also targeted by the US in airstrikes on 22nd June. Israel and the United States have claimed that Iranian nuclear sites were completely destroyed in their attack. Iran, however, has denied the claims. Israel has not signed the NPT. IAEA chief Rafael Grossi shared sensitive information regarding Iran's nuclear program and its scientists with Israel, Iran alleged. Lastly, comrades, UK government moves to ban Palestine Action. The British government intends to ban the Direct Action Group, Palestine Action, under the anti-terror legislation, following an event in which activists entered a Royal Air Force base and sprayed 2 jets with red paint. Palestine Action insists its members are teachers, nurses, students and parents who take part in actions disrupting the private companies who are harming Israel's genocide by spray painting or entering their factory premises. The attempt to ban a political protest group and effectively brand them a terrorist organization is unprecedented. Palestine Action stated. Thank you, comrades. Assalam. See you next.